Hello friends, it's Nikki and welcome back to my messy bookshelf. Today I'm sharing my June TBR and Pile of Possibilities. I actually have a TBR for the month. I usually just have a pile of possibilities, but there are a couple of reading events that I will be taking part in June and over the summer. And those are June on the Range and Big Book Summer. So I have a couple of books that I'm reading for both of those. So I will share the books that I definitely plan to get to, as well as my pile for other things to read. And I have a couple of buddy reads scheduled that I am very excited about. So I think, in terms of numbers, the amount of books that I have here, it is a modest pile. But I do have some chunkers here. I love a big book, so I will share the TBR first. So, the first book that I have here is one that I am doing a buddy read with my friend Candy from The Great Literary Rabbit Hole. And interestingly, I found her channel months ago, back when I was watching her. She has sort of a personal curriculum, and she created a DIY literature degree. And she has been going through and reading all kinds of different things in module format. And that was one of the things that really interested me and sort of helped me narrow down the kinds of books that I wanted to include in my 50 before 50 project. And interestingly, I think all of the books that I have here for June on the Range and Big Book Summer, or at least in my TBR, are books from my 50 before 50 list. So if I make it through all of these, I will be making very good progress because I need to read 7 books a year in order to stay on track to make my goal. And I have a lot of chunkers, as most of you may know. So I would like to get ahead of schedule so that when I hit the wall with these bigger books, I have some time to take care of that. But without further ado, I will share the first book. And this is one that I am buddy reading with Candy in June, and that is Pamela. We both read The Blue Stockings for People April, and Samuel Richardson was someone that was mentioned in the book. And he was fairly prevalent too. So I had this on my shelf already, and I thought it would be a great idea to finally dive into this. And I was very happy when Candy suggested a buddy read of this. So this is about a maid whose mistress dies, and she stays in the household, and the son of her late mistress is trying to make advances on her, and she is so scandalously, sticking up for herself and rejecting his advances. And someone told me, I think it was Melly, that told me that this was funny. And I actually read the first 2 pages yesterday, and I already had a smile on my face. So I think that this is going to be a joy. I will start reading this actually June 1st. So, Pamela by Samuel Richardson. And again, that is a buddy read that I am doing with Candy. And I think that actually might count towards Big Book Summer. I have a tendency to underestimate the amount of pages in books. I think it will. I didn't even think about that. Without any footnotes, yeah, it's over 400 pages, so this will count for Big Book Summer too. And I hadn't been counting that one. The next one I have is a chunker, one of the most famous chunkers in literature. And this is also a buddy read that I will be doing with Candy, and we will be reading War and Peace by Leo Tolstoy. And this is a book, I don't remember if she has read it before, but I have read this before, but it was like almost 20 years ago. And I would like to return to this because I am sure that I missed a lot the first time I read it. And this is about a bunch of aristocratic families, sort of showing the war side of things and the peace side of things during the war with Napoleon, when Napoleon tried to invade Russia. And yeah, it is. It is indeed a chunker. But we will be reading this over the course of the entire summer, and I am so happy to have someone to read this with. So, yes, War and Peace over the course of the summer. The next one I have here is one that I decided to pick up because of June on the Range, and this is News of the World by Paulette Giles. And I don't know too much besides the fact that it has glowing reviews by so many people here on BookTube and on Goodreads. So all I know is that it is about a man who travels around the West and he reads newspaper articles to people because they don't have access to the news. And one day, I believe he is tasked with escorting an orphaned little girl to her relatives. And I think the boat, the book is focused on their adventures as they travel through this landscape and also the relationship that forms between them. A very nice friendship, I believe. And that is all I know about this one. But News of the World. This is one I am reading on my own for June on the Range, so I will be starting this June 1st or the beginning of June. And then the last one I have on my TBR is another Western that has glowing reviews here on BookTube and Goodreads, and I have Lonesome Dove by Larry McMurtry. And I really know nothing about this one besides that it has a large cast of characters and is all about the relationships that they have and the landscape that they are in, in the West. And I don't know anything else about it. I just know that this seems to be so many people's favorite book, even people who don't read Westerns typically. So, wanted to do this, and I am also doing a buddy read for this one. And that is with someone who is a new friend and a subscriber, but is not a booktuber, so I will not share their name. But we are going to be reading this at the end of June because this person has some travel scheduled. And so when they come back, we will be doing a buddy read of this. So this will most likely start the last week of June and roll into July. But also, it is a big book. It's quite a chunker. So, another one that counts for Big Book Summer and my 50 Before 50 challenge, and June on the Range. So, I'm very excited. I'm doubling up on these challenges with these books. All right, moving on to the pile of possibilities because all of those won't be read at the same time, and then I will need some things for in between. As far as audio miles go, because none of us has finished the book yet, we did pick a book that was longer than the other ones we have read as a group. I think we will be carrying that over into June instead of picking a new book. So we will continue with Memoirs of a Geisha for audio miles. Moving on, I have just some fun books. So I thought it was time I got back into the Carl verse, and I have here book 5 of the Dungeon Crawler Carl series. And I don't know anything about where this one is headed, but I have had a blast with books 1 through 4, and I am eager to get back to my friends Carl and Princess Donut, even though I now have my own Princess Donut in the house. And yeah, I won't share too much anyway, because if you haven't read the first 4, I would hate to accidentally give a spoiler. Moving on, I was looking for something else. I am still feeling that sort of dark, twisty, and mysterious vibe. I don't know why. It's been big this year. So I picked out a few books here that, might work for that. So let me get the dark and twisty ones first. So the first one I have here is The Secret History by Donna Tartt. And this is one that I have wanted to read for a while. I know that this is set in academia, and it is a dark academia book featuring a professor and I believe a secret society. So that is all I know about this one, but still in the mood for that kind of stuff. Horror Mayhem was a success for me, and I would like to continue. I've also been reading a lot of dystopian this year. And speaking of dystopian, I need to complete this series. This is the only book in the Hunger Games universe that I have not read yet. So, Sunrise on the Reaping by Suzanne Collins. And I believe this one is about Katniss's mentor when he played in the games. Yes, Hamish. So, that's all I know. It's when he played the Hunger Games. And yeah, I've been really wanting to get to that one. And then I have a short one because I need to add some short books. Also, I forgot to mention, I think 2 of these books here that I just mentioned are also big books. I always forget to look at page numbers. But a short book, I have Animal Farm by George Orwell. I think I read this in school many years ago, but I don't really remember anything about it. And I know that it is supposed to be very thought-provoking and dark and, thought-provoking. So, Animal Farm. And then moving on, I gave myself some room for a couple of other things. Not that I will get to everything here, but I decided because I wanted to read this in May and then I didn't get around to it, that I would add this to the June pile. And I have The Warden by Anthony Trollope. And it's book 1 in the Chronicles of Barsetshire. I always forget that. And I always have to look. But again, glowing reviews, and many people have said to me that Anthony Trollope is like a cross between Elizabeth Gaskell and Jane Austen, and say no more. 2 of my favorite authors of all time. So, book 1 in that series. And I need to get to Anthony Trollope. And then the last one I have is one that I solely put on here because I am getting towards the end of The Song of Achilles, and I feel like I could do some more Greek mythology. So I have Pandora's Jar by Natalie Haynes, and I think this is just retellings of the myths, or some of the famous myths, from the women's perspective, because let's face it, all of them are from the perspective of the male heroes. So this is supposed to be from the perspective of the women in those stories. And I've heard good things about this author, so I am pretty excited to get to this one. Though I don't know if I will. My actual pile that I will be reading is quite large, so we will see what I get to in my pile of possibilities. Because, again, I pick out a lot of chunkers sometimes at the same time, and I don't do it on purpose, but, that's how I am. So, I thank you very much. If you made it to the end of this video, I would love to hear what you are reading and if you've read any of these books that I mentioned today. And I thank you again, and I hope to see you in the next video. Take care. Bye.